My dear child, stop where you are. Do not scroll. Do not rush. Do not let your attention slip away as it has so many times before. I am speaking to you now, and this moment is not accidental, not casual, not something to consume and forget. I have bent time for this meeting. I have quieted the noise just enough for you to hear me, and the fact that you are still here is already evidence that your spirit recognized my voice before your mind could argue. I know how quickly you move, how easily your fingers search for the next distraction, the next sound to drown out the ache you pretend not to feel. But I have called you to stillness, and I ask you to remain. I see you more clearly than you see yourself. I see the weight you carry behind your smile, the exhaustion that sleep does not fix, the longing you have tried to numb with constant motion. You have been looking for something without knowing its name, hoping the next moment would finally quiet the restlessness inside you. Hear me now. That restlessness was never your enemy. It was my signal. It was my hand pressing gently against your spirit, reminding you that you were made for more than survival, more than distraction, more than drifting through days half awake. Do not reduce this to background noise. Do not listen with half a heart. What I am about to unfold cannot be received in fragments. I am not here to entertain you. I am here to realign you. This is a crossing point, a pause where direction is decided. You were led here because you asked, even if your words were silent. You asked for clarity. You asked for relief. You asked for me. And now I am answering. Stay with me. Let your heart open. Let your defenses lower. What follows will require your attention, your honesty, and your willingness to listen. My dear child, I am speaking again, and I ask you to stay steady with me. Do not let your mind wander while your body remains. I know how quickly you drift, how easily your thoughts scatter the moment silence stretches too long. That impulse to escape, to check, to move on, is not weakness alone. It is conditioning. You have lived too long in fragments. Your attention has been pulled apart piece by piece until you forgot what it feels like to be whole. I am calling you back into wholeness now, and that is why everything in you feels both drawn and resistant at the same time. I chose this moment deliberately. Not because you earned it, not because you were perfect, but because you were honest enough to feel your emptiness. I know the nights you lie awake replaying conversations, mistakes, missed chances. I know how you scroll until your eyes hurt because silence makes the questions louder. I know the quiet fear that whispers, "Is this all there is?" Even when your life looks fine from the outside. You did not imagine that fear. It was not a lack of gratitude. It was awareness. It was your soul recognizing that it has been living below its calling. Listen carefully. You are not here by coincidence, and you are not hearing this because an algorithm guessed correctly. I led you here because your spirit was ready to be interrupted. You were about to keep going the same way, telling yourself you would deal with the deeper things later, when life slowed down, when you felt stronger, when circumstances improved. But later is the enemy's favorite hiding place. Later keeps you busy enough to feel productive and numb enough to avoid transformation. I am pulling you out of later and into now. I see how distracted you have become, not because you don't care, but because caring has felt expensive. Every notification, every sound, every endless stream of voices competes for your attention, not neutrally, not harmlessly, but intentionally. Your focus is under attack because your focus is powerful. If you were truly present, truly awake, truly aligned, you would no longer be easily controlled by fear, comparison, or impulse. So the world keeps you tired. It keeps you scrolling. It keeps you busy enough to survive but too scattered to listen. I want you to understand something without panic or shame. The enemy does not always come with chaos and destruction. Sometimes he comes with comfort, with delay, with just enough distraction to keep you from noticing how far you've drifted. He whispers, "You have time. This isn't urgent. You can come back to God later." But hear me clearly now. There are moments that carry weight. There are windows that do not repeat the same way twice. This is one of them. I am not threatening you. I am awakening you. You have felt this stirring already. That strange mix of heaviness and anticipation. That sense that something in you is ready to shift but afraid of the cost. You have tried to drown that feeling with noise, entertainment, other people's opinions, even with good intentions that never became obedience. But the stirring did not go away because it came from me. I placed it there as a signal that you were approaching a turning point. You are closer to change than you realize, and that proximity is why the resistance feels stronger now. I know you wonder why I haven't spoken sooner, why clarity seemed delayed while you were asking for answers. You mistook my silence for absence, but I was never gone. I was watching what you did when I didn't rush to fix things. I was allowing layers to surface, attachments to reveal themselves, motivations to be tested. Some things cannot be healed quickly without being hidden again. I was preparing you to hear what I am saying now without running from it. Do not misunderstand me. I am not here to accuse you. I am here to tell you the truth because I love you too much to let you sleep through your own becoming. You have been living divided, one part of you reaching for me, another part clinging to familiarity. You call it being realistic, but often it has been fear negotiating with conviction, fear of change, fear of loss, fear of who you might become if you actually let go. But staying the same has been costing you more than you admit. I see the cycle you're stuck in, the resolve that rises, the effort you make, the slow drift back into old patterns, and the quiet disappointment you feel afterward. You tell yourself you failed again, that you are inconsistent, that something must be wrong with you. But the problem was never your desire. It was your divided attention. A heart pulled in too many directions cannot sustain transformation. That is why I am calling you to stillness first, before action, before answers, before change. Presence comes first. Stay with me right now. This is not the moment to multitask. This is not something to have here while doing something else. What I am doing in you requires awareness. I am gently pulling back the curtain on what has been draining your peace. Not to shame you, but to free you. What you refuse to look at quietly controls you. What you bring into the light begins to lose its power. You may feel exposed as you listen, like I am touching places you've guarded carefully. That is not condemnation. That is intimacy. I already know these places, but you are just beginning to see them clearly. Let that clarity come. Do not rush past it. Conviction is not rejection. It is rescue. It is me stepping in before numbness becomes normal and drift becomes destiny. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are not broken for feeling restless. You are responding to a life that has been asking you to be everything except present. I am calling you back to yourself, back to me, back to the center you have been orbiting but avoiding. This chapter of your life is not about doing more. It is about listening deeper, about choosing awareness over avoidance, about letting me interrupt patterns that no longer serve the future I am preparing you for. Remain here. Let the weight settle without trying to escape it. This is not pressure meant to crush you. It is gravity pulling you back into alignment. You are being repositioned, even now. And the fact that you are still listening tells me you are ready for what comes next. My child, listen to me with discernment now, because what I am about to reveal requires courage. Not the kind of courage that performs for others, but the quiet kind that faces truth without flinching. You have wondered why resistance intensifies whenever you attempt to change, why confusion thickens just as clarity begins to rise. You assumed it was coincidence, exhaustion, or your own inconsistency. But there is more happening than you have been willing to name. You are not simply tired, you have been opposed. There is an adversary that does not need to destroy you outright if it can simply keep you doubting, delaying, and dividing yourself. The enemy studies patterns, and the enemy learned long ago that you carry something worth interrupting. If you were insignificant, there would be no resistance. If your obedience were inconsequential, there would be no pressure. But the weight you feel is not random. It is evidence that your movement forward threatens something unseen. I need you to understand this without fear. You are not fragile. You are not easily broken. You are dangerous in ways you have not yet accepted. That is why the battle has been subtle instead of violent. You were not attacked head-on. You were slowly lulled into distraction, self-doubt, and spiritual negotiation. You were taught to minimize yourself, to call your sensitivity weakness, your discernment overthinking, your conviction rigidity. But those were never flaws. They were indicators of depth. The enemy does not fear loud chaos as much as it fears quiet authority. It fears the moment you stop reacting and start listening. It fears the day you realize you were never powerless, only unfocused. You have underestimated yourself because you have not yet seen yourself through my eyes. Hear me carefully now. I did not form you to blend in or disappear. I placed weight in your spirit, vision in your inner life, and discernment in your awareness. That is why superficial things exhaust you. That is why shallow connections leave you empty. That is why you feel restless in environments that tolerate compromise. You were not designed for spiritual convenience. You were designed for alignment. And alignment always provokes resistance before it produces fruit. The enemy wants you to believe your struggles disqualify you. I am telling you they identify you. Hell does not waste effort on what carries no threat. The fact that you are still standing, still listening, still longing, tells me everything I need to know about what you carry. You have blamed yourself for seasons that were never meant to be easy. You have called yourself slow for processes that required depth. You have judged your path by timelines that were never assigned to you. But I have been forming you quietly, deliberately, away from applause and away from comparison. You were not delayed. You were insulated. You were not overlooked. You were hidden. There are parts of you that could not be developed in public without being damaged. So I allowed solitude. I allowed stripping. I allowed frustration. Not to harm you, but to strengthen you in ways attention never could. What feels like loss now will soon reveal itself as protection. Now listen closely, because this is where identity shifts. You are not merely someone trying to survive, improve, or cope. You are someone awakening to authority. Authority does not shout. It does not rush. It does not panic. Authority knows where it stands. And that is what the enemy fears most, that you will stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start recognizing yourself as a carrier of purpose. When you walk in alignment, atmospheres change. When you choose obedience, patterns break. When you stay present, deception loses its grip. That is why distraction has been persistent. That is why discouragement keeps repeating the same lies in different voices. But today, I am exposing the pattern so it no longer controls you. You are not losing a battle. You are becoming aware of one. And awareness is the beginning of victory. Stay with me. What you are stepping into next requires the identity you are only now beginning to accept, my child. Now I speak to you with urgency, not because I am anxious, but because timing matters. There are seasons where movement can be slow and reflective, and there are moments where delay becomes disobedience without you realizing it. You are standing in such a moment now. You can feel it in your body, in the way your chest tightens when you consider staying the same, in the way your spirit leans forward even while your fear pulls back. This is not pressure from me to perform. This is awareness rising. You are being asked to choose direction, not perfection. And direction is always decided in moments like this, where comfort and calling stand directly across from each other. You have told yourself you needed more clarity before acting, more confirmation before surrendering, more security before letting go. But hear me clearly. Clarity often follows obedience, not the other way around. You have been waiting to feel ready, when readiness was never the requirement. Willingness is. You already know what I have been asking of you. You have known for longer than you admit. That quiet knowing that keeps resurfacing, no matter how many times you distract yourself, is not confusion. It is conviction. And conviction does not come to torment you. It comes to guide you out of cycles that no longer serve who you are becoming. Time feels compressed to you right now, and that is not an illusion. When alignment approaches, resistance accelerates and urgency sharpens. You feel pulled to act and tempted to postpone at the same time. The voice that says later sounds reasonable, gentle, patient. But later has kept you circling the same mountain. Later has allowed fear to dress itself up as wisdom. Later has cost you peace you can never quite name. I am not asking you to rush blindly. I am asking you to stop delaying what you already understand. There are windows that close not with drama, but quietly, leaving you wondering why momentum faded. I do not want that for you. Listen to me with your whole heart now. You are not being punished by pressure. You are being positioned. What feels intense is simply focus returning. When you stop scattering your attention, everything feels sharper at first. Emotions rise, truth surfaces, decisions demand honesty. That discomfort is temporary, but the stagnation you've been tolerating will last as long as you protect it. You cannot carry the new while clinging to the old. You cannot step forward while negotiating with what I have already asked you to release. Partial surrender has kept you tired. Full surrender will make you free. You worry about the cost, and I will not lie to you. There is always a cost. But the cost of obedience is never greater than the cost of delay. Delay drains you slowly, quietly, until numbness feels normal. Obedience feels frightening at first because it is alive. It requires presence. It requires trust. It requires you to step without every answer in your hand. But I do not ask you to step alone. I go before you. I have already prepared the grace you will need in the moments you fear most. You are not stepping into emptiness. You are stepping into provision you cannot yet see. You feel as though time is watching you, as though something important is on the line. That perception is accurate. Not because your worth is at risk, but because momentum is. There are paths that open easily when taken promptly and become difficult when delayed. This is not punishment. It is order. I am inviting you into alignment with that order. What you choose now sets direction for what unfolds next. One decision does not fix everything, but it does establish trajectory. And trajectory matters more than speed. Do not dramatize this moment, but do not minimize it either. This is not about changing your entire life in one breath. It is about agreeing with me about the next right step. The habit you keep excusing. The relationship you know is pulling you away. The obedience you keep postponing because it threatens your sense of control. These are not random struggles. They are crossroads. And crossroads require decisions, not intentions. I am not asking you to promise me perfection. I am asking you to choose honesty over avoidance. You are afraid that if you say yes fully, you will fail again. That fear has kept you guarded, cautious, half-committed. But listen to me. Failure does not disqualify you. Avoidance delays you. I can work with weakness. I can work with fear. I can work with trembling obedience. I cannot work with refusal disguised as patience. Say yes with whatever strength you have. I will supply the rest as you move. You do not need tomorrow's courage today. You need today's obedience now. Stay present. This is the moment where transformation quietly begins, not with noise or spectacle, but with agreement. Agreement shifts everything. When you agree with me about what needs to change, grace starts moving. When you agree with me about what you must release, strength follows. When you agree with me about who you are becoming, fear loses authority. This is not the end of your story. It is the pivot. And pivots rarely feel dramatic. They feel decisive. Remain here a little longer. Let this urgency refine you, not frighten you. I am not rushing you out of love. I am drawing you forward because love sees what delay costs. Choose alignment. Choose presence. Choose now. My child, this is where listening becomes movement, and movement becomes agreement. Do not separate what you feel from what you do next, because the power of this moment is not in emotion alone, but in response. Many hear my voice and feel stirred, yet few bind that stirring to action. I am calling you to be among the few, not because I need something from you, but because transformation only activates when revelation meets obedience. What you do immediately after this moment matters more than what you understand about it. Understanding without response fades. Response anchors truth into your life. You have been conditioned to believe that action can wait, that engagement can be delayed, that intention alone is enough. But intention without movement becomes self-deception. When I speak to awaken participation. Faith is not passive. Agreement is not silent. Obedience is not theoretical. I am not asking you to perform for me. I am asking you to step out of hiding. Small actions, taken with awareness, break larger patterns of avoidance. When you respond, you declare to your own spirit that this moment was real, that it mattered, that you chose presence over drift. There is resistance rising even now. You feel it as hesitation, as overthinking, as the urge to minimize what I am asking. That resistance is not logic. It is fear of consequence. Fear whispers that commitment will cost you comfort, that obedience will demand consistency, that choosing fully will expose you. But hear me clearly. Remaining undecided has already been costing you. It has been draining your energy, dulling your joy, and fragmenting your focus. You are not being asked to leap blindly. You are being asked to plant your feet where you already stand and say yes without negotiation. When you act in alignment with truth, you shift something unseen. You step out of isolation and into participation. That is why response matters. That is why engagement carries weight. When you choose to affirm this moment, to acknowledge it, to share it, to respond outwardly, you are not doing something trivial. You are declaring allegiance. You are telling your own heart that this was not just another sound, not just another message, not just another passing inspiration. You are marking the moment so it cannot be easily dismissed or forgotten. Do not tell yourself this is optional if you want change. Optional obedience produces optional transformation. You have lived too long in partial agreement, where you listen deeply but act lightly. That pattern ends here if you allow it. What you repeat becomes your reality. What you reinforce grows stronger. I am inviting you to reinforce alignment now, not tomorrow, not when it feels easier. Now, while the clarity is present and the invitation is open. You worry about pressure, about being manipulated, about whether response truly matters. Let me speak plainly. Response is not about proving faith to me. I already know your heart. Response is about training your spirit to move when truth appears. It is about breaking the habit of delay. It is about stepping into rhythm with me instead of always catching up later. Every meaningful shift in your life began with a moment where you acted before fear was resolved. This is one of those moments. There is a law of reciprocity woven into creation, not as punishment or reward, but as alignment. When you open your hand, it can be filled. When you move forward, provision meets you. When you respond, momentum follows. When you withhold, things stagnate. You have felt that stagnation. You have lived in the frustration of almosts and nearlies. This is not condemnation. It is explanation. I am showing you how the cycle breaks. Do not over-spiritualize this and miss its simplicity. Obedience does not always feel dramatic. Sometimes it looks like choosing to stay present instead of scrolling away. Sometimes it looks like affirming truth instead of staying silent. Sometimes it looks like sharing light instead of consuming endlessly. These actions are not small when they are intentional. They rewire how you relate to truth. They turn you from observer into participant. And participation is where growth accelerates. I will be honest with you. There will always be another message, another moment, another invitation. But there will not always be the same openness in your heart. Repeated delay hardens sensitivity. Repeated avoidance dulls discernment. I do not want that for you. That is why I keep calling you back into response. Not once, but again and again, until alignment becomes natural. This is not about one action fixing everything. It is about one action establishing a pattern.